Right, a very good morning. Karibu sana to the very first Monday of August 2026. Tarehe ya leo ni tarehe 3. Wiki ya kwanza ya Agosti. Tunangojea El Nino ikuje, siku ile itakuja. Kabla ikuje, we are here. This is TV47 Breakfast to wake you up the best way we know how. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. How hot is your coffee?
My name is Annie Odida. Welcome, of course, to the very first week of August. Happy new month. We hope that it's going to be a little bit kinder to all of us.
Yeah. July wasn't kind enough.
Let me tell you, I'm having the time of my life. I'm chopping life, but you know it's not the same for everyone.
Yeah. Don't worry, there's always a new day coming up. Leo isipo work, kesho itakuwa. Yeah. As long as you're alive. So a lot of talking points, Vision 2060, a big discussion throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that conversation?
Of course. Are you not?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. The president comes out and says that we need to have a national conversation towards bigger and greater aspirations as a country. Definitely a conversation worth having, but questions are. Or rather, the question is, because it says we start this conversation on the 12th. It'll be 2 days into that 1 year countdown to the next election. Is he launching his campaign through that national conversation, or is it a genuine national conversation on matters to do with a bigger vision than what we have? And why would he launch it a year to the elections? So many questions, and that's a big discussion. Meanwhile, political machinations continue everywhere. People are opposed to this Vision 2030. Hey, Daily Nation
2060. People
2060.
Are opposed,
Wanasema hiyo ni mambo ingine hatufai kuanza sahi. But the biggest discussion on the Daily Nation, 3.5 billion a day borrowing spree. Tumefikisha deni 13 trillion shillings. Na bado tunaendelea.
Na hiyo ni from January to April peke yake.
Have you ever come across that content creator who talks about a billion shillings?
Yes.
All his content is about a billion shillings and how big a billion shillings is. So if you get that context of what a billion shillings is, then you come and understand 3.5 billion shillings a day. Yeah, borrowing spree. Probably ndio itakupatia ile context. Yeah, because 3.5 inakaa ni kitu kidogo. 3.5.
Lakini usingie ndani because there's some damning revelations hapo ndani that we'll be telling them as we continue this.
All right, I was just highlighting that. A big story nonetheless.
Yeah.
So yes, these are just some of the big talking points we'll be having throughout this week. Meanwhile, the opposition wanajipanga. Nasikia kuna mkutano kubwa sana ya the Jubilee Party.
Yeah.
Not Jubilee Party, Azimio. Azimio bado ukua.
Yes. Leo wanakutana.
Jubilee. Jubilee, wengine wote.
ODM.
Hata ODM bado wako Azimio, hapana, walitoka.
Walitoka?
ODM walitoka Azimio. ODM walitoka Azimio. So it's
hata Linda Mwananchi? The ODM Linda Mwananchi?
Now you see, Linda Mwananchi is not part of Azimio. Azimio is Wiper, Jubilee. ODM was part of Azimio, wakatoka. Ile chama ya Martha Karua ilikuwa, wakatoka pia. So the parties that still remain in Azimio are quite fewer, but at least I know Wiper, Patriotic Front and the Jubilee Party. Who else will be there in that meeting? We'll have to wait and see.
All right, so do interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube on X. It's TV47 Digital. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast.
You can tag us as well. My handle on X is at Freddie Ndimuli.
Hashtag story ni yetu. My handle on X is at Annie_Dida. Let's see how the weather's looking like this morning. It's a cloudy day in Kiambu today. This morning it's 14 degrees, highs of 19 degrees expected there. Kilifi, light rains expected. 23 degrees this morning, highs of 28 degrees. There will be scattered thunderstorms in Kisumu, 19 degrees this morning, highs of 28 degrees in Kisumu. Kisii, scattered thunderstorms as well. It's very much going to rain in Kisii, 17 degrees this morning, highs of 26 degrees. It's a cloudy day in Kitui, 16 degrees this morning, highs of 22 degrees today. And Nairobi, wanasema it's going to rain, 14 degrees this morning, highs of 21 degrees. So it's a chilly day in Nairobi today. That's the state of the weather.
Yes, indeed, it may be a chilly day across most parts of the country, but it's Monday nonetheless, and we have to give you some inspiration. Let's get the quote of the day.
When you have a dream, you've got to grab it and never let go.
All right, one of the big conversations we had last week features on the front pages today, even more prominently because it's on the front page of the Standard. Recipe for rigging, that's the headline there on the front page of the Standard. They talk about what's happening with the IEBC and a bill before Senate now. Trust on trial, they say, a fresh bid to scrap the IEBC's duty to live stream polling station results has triggered alarm ahead of the 2027 general election. The bill, sponsored by Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheriot and Minority Leader Stuart Mazzayo, is before the Senate's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and seeks to remove one of the key transparency safeguards introduced after past disputed polls. You know, just getting to know who exactly sponsored the bill says a lot, yeah? Because now you see this is a combination of the Majority Leader in the Senate and the Minority Leader in the Senate. The Majority Leader is from UDA, the Minority Leader is from ODM. So this is a broad-based push for amendment of the election bill to remove live streaming. Critics say the move would make it harder for the public and the media to independently verify results, fueling fears of electoral manipulation. With the election less than a year away, it's about a year now. Yeah, its timing has intensified suspicion that the changes could benefit President William Ruto if the integrity of the electoral process is compromised. Last week, I think all the people on my panel, including some who support this administration, said, no, I don't think that is a nice move. But by then, we didn't know who had sponsored the bill. Now it's clear. It's sponsored by the Minority and Majority Leader in the Senate. So this is a story on page 4. A controversial proposal to scrap the mandatory live streaming of election results from polling stations. It has now thrust the Elections Amendment Bill of 2024 back into the spotlight, setting the stage for a fresh battle over the transparency of the 2027 general election. And you see, every time we come close to a general election, that's when we get this urge to actually amend the Elections Act, remove this, add this, change a few issues here and there. And one wonders why. We've had so much time. If at all this required debate, and why the necessity to remove such a thing? Why remove the live streaming of results? That means you would render whatever people do at Bomas useless. Because Bomas is the one place where all the results are transmitted to, then collated. Like each polling station sends, remember, all results are final at the polling stations. So what they do is just send it to the National Tallying Center. And that is usually transmitted live by the IEBC. Now,
then we pick it.
Then we pick it even as media, because if we try to do it ourselves, then the numbers start getting convoluted, you start getting confusion, then the whole country gets into a mess. So why would you want to remove that provision now?
You know, they're saying that this is a product of the NADCO report.
Removing a live transmission of results?
Yes.
Well, interesting. I do not know why. There are those who argue that even the whole Bomas of Kenya fiasco, we do not need it. That after all, the results are final at the polling station. Why do we need a National Tallying Center? Oh no, Naji, what do you think? Do you think the live streaming of results from polling station is actually crucial?
Because I was just trying to look what the Election Laws Amendment Bill is talking about. And just more into that, it's ending live tally broadcasts, judicial access to servers, MP recall process. That is the legislation attempts to cure previous constitutional loopholes by establishing a fairer, highly accessible legal pathway for voters to recall non-performing members of parliament.
That's just one of the amendments there. But I think the big one is this one for scrapping the live streaming of results. Crucially though, that one for recalling MPs should also be a big discussion because up till now it has not been possible at all to recall a member of parliament once they get into the house, despite the provision being there in our constitution. So that's a big story, and we'll be looking at that with my panelists later on. Other quick stories here, that meeting you mentioned, the Azimio Council to meet over formula to select candidate to run for president. But now one wonders, okay, there will be an Azimio candidate because a party like DCP is not part of the Azimio. A party like DAP-K, I doubt, is it part of Azimio? Probably. A party like, Linda Mwananchi will be looking at an attempt to make it a party. It's still not part of Linda Mwananchi. So why would Azimio now want to come up with a plan on how they'll pick a candidate. The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Council is expected to meet today to discuss, among other agendas, a formula for identifying a single presidential candidate for the opposition and whether to rebrand ahead of the elections. Yeah, so this, I do not know what DCP may want to say about Azimio. All right, so those are the two biggest political discussions today. Other quick highlights: only 6 out of 10 newborns get life-saving first-hour breast milk. Yeah, they say that once a baby has been born, within the first hour, yeah, he or she should be able to get breast milk.
You know, interestingly, it's International Breastfeeding Week. And Kenya, according to WHO, we are actually doing very, very well. We are 60%, which
not so bad.
surpasses the WHO's Assembly's target of 50%. So we're doing quite well in terms of breastfeeding.
So we encourage mothers to breastfeed their children.
Yes. Yes, their children.
Vision 2060 also features here on page 6. Can Ruto build Kenya's future amid a trail of failed projects? That's the question. Many people are saying even Vision 2030, which we're only 4 years shy of getting to the limit, that a lot of that hasn't been achieved. Yeah, we were supposed to move to at least a middle-income country. That levels of poverty witnessed in various parts of this country should have been a thing of the past by this time. We're still there. We're still earning less than $1 a day.
Yeah.
And then now we want a new vision, 2060. So what happens to this one? How are we going to think big if the small things that disturb us daily?
The argument is also that President William Ruto was a player, or still is, in the implementation of Vision 2030. So if that isn't really realized, and then we're coming up with a new thing. Since 2008 up until now,
yes,
what has been done as regards Vision 2030?
All right. Yes. As you say, he has been, the president currently has held various positions in different governments for 2 decades. He's been a member of parliament since 1997. Yeah? Yeah. Almost 30 years now. All right. Anyway, away from the big news of the day, back in the back pages, matters Commonwealth. Kenya continues getting more medals. So far we have gold medalists. 3 gold, 4 silver, 5 bronze. Atukombaya. Kenya's medals in Scotland. We won 12 medals in the 2026 so far. 12 medals, not so bad. So we continue supporting our team in Scotland. That's the standard. They call it the bold newspaper. All right,
tuangalie gazeti la Taifa Leo. Sifuna kusajili Linda Mwananchi. That's the main headline on the front page of gazeti la Taifa Leo this morning. Senator wa Nairobi Edwin Sifuna ameanza mchakato wa kusajili Linda Mwananchi kwa chama cha kisiasa atakachotumia kuwania urais mnamo mwaka ujao. Viongozi wa mrengo wa Linda Mwananchi ambao ni mrengo wa waasi ndani ya ODM walisema wamepanga kukutana na afisi ya msajili wa vyama vya kisiasa, huyo ni ORPP, leo ili kuendeleza mchakato wa kusajiliwa kwa chama hicho. So a lot is happening today. Azimio meeting, and Linda Mwananchi will also be registering Linda Mwananchi as a party. Viongozi wa kundi hilo walisisitiza seneta huyo wa Nairobi ndiye mgombea wao wa urais, lakini Edwin Sifuna has not come out publicly to declare that he's running for presidency.
Wakwe na chama kwanza.
Wakwe na chama kwanza. Walisema their union is collegial. We'll be looking out for that. Vidokezo zaidi, Raila Junior lenga ufuasi wa babake, azimia kunufaika kwa ushawishi wa babake Raila Odinga, huku akidaiwa kutaka kuwania kiti cha ubunge Embakasi Kusini. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili. Cheruiyot anasema hutapata kura bondeni. Kiongozi wa wengi Seneti akaribisha Gachagua Rift Valley, ila amwambia umati mkubwa si kura, hakikisho la kura. Ruto aambia Kindiki asihofie ODM. Viongozi wa chama cha ODM wametishia kutoa kiti cha naibu rais mwaka 2027. Finally amezungumzia.
Nani? Kindiki?
Ruto.
Akasema
asihofie. Ndio hiyo ndio habari inazungumzia.
Uoga itasaidia.
Ruto aambia Kindiki asihofie ODM.
Whether utakuwa na uoga ama usiwe na uoga. Ikifika wakati
hakuna bwana. On the top strip, upinzani wachumbia Jumwa wamtaka Bi Aisha awasaidie kumuoa Ruto kitini mwaka 2027. Na Starlets wana kibarua WAFCON watapambana na Algeria, Morocco leo. Taifa Leo.
Toka Taifa Leo tuangazie gazeti la Daily Nation. Matters debt given a lot of prominence there. 3.5 billion shilling a day borrowing spree. President William Ruto's government borrowed 416.2 billion from foreign markets in 4 months this year, translating to 104 billion shillings every month. The loans taken out between January 1st and April 30th deepen a raging financial crisis, with public debt rising to 13 trillion shillings. Stories on pages 4 and 5. So in February this year, they took a loan of 29.15 billion from International Development Association to address regional disparities in learning outcomes, whatever that is. Then another one on 10th of the same month, 9.8 billion from AFD to promote equitable access to quality higher education, training and research. Then from International Sovereign Bond, 290 billion funding earmarked for budgetary support. IDA again, another 3.9, Kitty for climate resilience actions. In March again, funding for general budget support, 20 billion. IDA again, now IDA ni kama ndo wanatupatia pesa mingi. 45 billion funds to expand access to affordable housing finance. I thought tuna fund the affordable housing sisi wenyewe. Anyway, IBRD Bank, April 22nd, money to expand access to affordable housing finance. Again, another 16 billion. So total money to expand access to affordable housing finance is about 60 billion. Yeah. Explain to me. How? Anyway.
I wish I could. I wish I could. Yeah. Very interestingly, we're borrowing 144 million per hour. Per hour.
Hii tutalipa tu ujue hivyo. Tutalipa hii deni. Uspende. Utalipa hiyo deni. So this story, you can read more about it on pages 4 and 5. Usisikize tu watu wanakuambia. No, go read about it. Because the Daily Nation has done a very good job. They talk about the domestic debt. They even have a graph from 2013 to 2026. The debt levels then. They talk about total public debt stock. They talk about external debt. They talk about debt to GDP. So they've done a comprehensive breakdown of this debt. 7 new external loans are for housing, education, climate action and budget support. So did we anticipate that we would borrow more, especially for housing? Because many Kenyans complained, tunaumia because we're actually funding this housing program, affordable housing. Then now we're borrowing more for it. So, well, it's interesting. Explain to me like a very old man. Yeah. Back to the front page. Enter Linda Mwananchi party plan. You've talked about it on the front page of Taifa Leo. It is here as well. The Linda Mwananchi could become a party. Unajua, even the ODM ilikuwa chama. Chungwa was a movement to oppose the Constitution 2005. Alafu sasa ikakuwa hiyo referendum. Akasema, Raila Odinga akasema hata hiyo chungwa inaweza kuwa chama. And it became a chama. ODM, Orange Democratic Movement, became a party. All right. Doctors, killers used her stolen car to lay an ambush. That's another story that has been making headlines, especially on social media. A lady who was killed, and now they are tying it to marital strife, divorce, and a lot of things. You can read that story on page 8. The Music Festival, 98th edition of the Kenya National Music Festival is kicking off at Kibabii University in Bungoma. So wale wanapenda zinaitwa nini za muziki?
Yes, music festivals.
Ile kwa Kiswahili.
Right.
And following the events of 2nd August 1982, they're doing a quick look back at what happened in 1982 with a coup attempt. Secrets of 1982 coup attempt, how last-minute act saved army heroes. That story is on page 3. The quick highlights huko ndani ni siasa tu imejaa. Ruto, UDM packed here to stay. Gachagua pokes holes into Vision 2060. And Linda Mwananchi reserved as one of 3 names by Sifuna team. Itakuwa chama. Right. Another interesting story on page 8. Victory for parents as court outlaws blanket school fines. You know when there's upheaval in schools and then people damage property, then watu wanaambiwa go home, nyinyi wote. Mukirudi, the school has imposed a fine on everyone, including those who did not even take part. Mnaambiwa nyinyi wote, as you come back to school, you have to pay this much. So the court says, and it was about Ambira High School, which had levied 33,000 to every parent. Watoto wakiambiwa kila mtu ukirudi shule 33,000. So amesema hiyo haifai. Back page, Commonwealth. Curtain falls on quadrennial championship with Kenya getting 12 medals in total. Not a bad performance. Na hii maswala ya starlets kule WAFCON. They're aiming to finish on a high against Algeria tonight. That's the Daily Nation.
All right. Tuangalie People Daily now. Gachagwa's raid on Ruto's turf. This story is on page 4. They say that Gachagwa's foray into Ruto's home turf ignites rift rivalry. New national face. Gachagua has a series of activities lined up in the coming days, including an anticipated tour of both South and North Rift regions in a spirited attempt to win converts. A section of politicians from the region say the former DP is free to make inroads in Rift Valley, with politicians allied to Ruto saying the former DP was free to tour the South Rift. Yes, so that is another the major story.
Kina wanamwambia hatapata kitu.
The People Daily, yes.
Tembea tu lakini hutapata kitu.
Wanajuaje? Anyway, so another story here on the front page. Defiant Kindiki fights back. Yes, that one is a story on page 8. Is he defiant?
Yeah, alisema he has fought bigger fights. Here itamtisha.
Sitishwe. Rigija alisema muachane na Kindiki, na DP, na Prof. Yes, that story is on page 8. They say that despite the speculation, Kindiki has maintained that he remains firmly committed to the Kenya Kwanza administration. He has rejected calls for him to step aside, maintaining that he will remain loyal to President William Ruto.
Na umesema president amemsupport akasema kusikwe na uoga. Asiogope.
Sitishwe. That is the People Daily this morning.
All right, let's take a look at the Star. Fresh, independent, different. Talks about budget pain as fuel prices remain high on global tensions. Fresh disruptions on key shipping routes threaten inflation surge. It has to do with what's happening in the Middle East, because we thought that America and Iran walikuwa wamekubaliana, lakini kama hawakubaliani. Hizo text, hizo SMS wanatumiana na WhatsApp ni kama kuna zile inaitwaje ile kuna clock. Unatuma message alafu after a while ina disappearing messages. So ni kama wasomi zote, unaamka asubuhi unapata message ilikuja na ikadisappear. Because I don't know why till now they're still squabbling. Yeah. So how deepening global supply shocks worsen Kenya's cost of living is the analysis on the pages 4 and 5 spread of this paper. They're talking even about matatu fares, electricity, food, agriculture, businesses, how global actions are affecting you directly. So we do anticipate that even during this month's fuel price review by EPRA, last month hawaku reduce na kuongeza.
Ibaki papo hapo.
Acha tuone kama wataongeza mwezi huu. Ruto to critics, Vision 2060 talks are not about 2027 politics. Well, it just happens by coincidence that imekuja exactly 1 year to elections. Yeah. It's very hard not to believe that it's about 2027 politics, but then again, the president has said this, we have no reason to doubt him. Other quick highlights on the front page: UHC workers set for permanent pensionable jobs in 8.6 billion plan. And Ketraco boss Kibias denies claims of interference in recruitment of new CEO. Tuone huku ndani kama kuna mambo ingine tofauti kutokana na wale wengine. Nothing much. I'm not seeing anything very different. Okay. UDA backs gender rule bill, but ODM uncertain. Parties to ensure not more than 2/3 of candidates are of the same gender. How will they do it as a party? Are they going to nominate more candidates to ensure that there's that gender parity, or at least a fulfillment of the requirement of the Constitution? Election Laws Amendment Bill of 2026. I think it's the same story. They're just looking at different angles of that amendment bill. Why are all these things coming 1 year to the next election? Back page, Akonor unfazed. Matters football, Gor Mahia coach calm ahead of tricky Al Hilal test in Kagame Cup semi-final. Wamefika semi-final. Congratulations to them. And Starlet seeking to end WAFCON tour on a high. After losing to Morocco 4-0 and Senegal 1-0. Now they're going to meet Algeria. And that's the end for them. That's the stuff. Fresh, independent, different. You can grab yourself a copy of this paper for only 60 bob in Kenya. All
right, very quickly, business daily dominance of Big Five. NSE stocks cut to 62%, and this includes Safaricom, Equity Group, KCB, EBL, and Cooperative Bank, which now account for 62% of the 3.9 trillion shillings investor wealth at the NSE. That is down from 66% at the beginning of this year. On the ticker, KRA now bets on blockchain to cut cargo delays. Kenya retail investors buy 836 million shillings KCB shares, and CBK eyes 150 billion shillings from reopened infrastructure bonds. That's the Business Daily this morning.
All right. From the Business Daily, let's cross over and see what we have from our neighbors. At least for the first time in weeks, now Uganda is back. We have all the papers from Uganda.
They were back on Friday?
No, at least now we have all.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have the New Vision there. NSSF to evict tycoon from Temangalo land. You know, the whole of last week, New Vision were very late in releasing their paper. Now that the Daily Monitor is back, now they're releasing their paper early enough also. Compero Safi. An interesting story on the front page of the New Vision in Uganda is about Imbalu, 80,000 boys to be circumcised. This is more or less what is happening in areas around Bukusuland in Kenya as well, where the month of August, after students close the school, it is about circumcision. So something similar happening in Uganda. But local council elections still big, given in the front page of the Daily Monitor. LC1 chiefs for life. That's a big story there. Let's go to Tanzania. How patient farmers grow towering profits from trees. That's the front page of the Citizen. Nasema ukipanda miti unaweza vuna. Kuna pesa pale kwa miti. Panda miti. And why tourists are spending more in Tanzania, as well as Gen Z's, Africa's Gen Z and type of democracy it wants. Talking about the young Africans. It is a similar story there on the front page of Mwananchi, kule Bongo. Habari ya Gen Z, demokrasia wanayoitaka kizazi cha Gen Z. Nani kizazi cha Gen Z? Gazeti la Mwananchi, Afrika nzima, sio Tanzania tu. Ni habari moja wapo ambazo zimepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti la Mwananchi. Lakini habari kuu pale, matumizi binafsi, kimbilio la mikopo. Wanasema sababu 3 za tajwa kuwasukuma wakopaji kwenda kukopa kwenye taasisi za fedha. Tunaangazia gazeti la Mwananchi. Wataalamu wa uchumi wanena haya. More and more people are borrowing for just spending and survival. Day-to-day spending. Habari hiyo si tofauti sana na mambo yanayotendeka hapa nchini Kenya. So magazeti ya Tanzania na Uganda tushayaangalia. Sasa turejee nyumbani tuangalie Karakacha. Do you have go ahead.
All right, let's start with the one on the this is Harry. Or this is Daily Nation, yeah. Which one is this? Yes, Daily Nation. Right, there's a weather forecast here that says frequent thunders of betrayal, defections, and plenty of handshakes. Yes, what we should expect as the election year. Yeah, as we get into the election year next week.
All right. The People Daily, the cartoon on the People Daily today has a caricature of the president. Anaambiwa vile mambo inakaa. Popularity polls, Sifuna is up, Ruto is down. So he's saying, try and flip it upside down. And then the guy flips it and says, you see, that works. From his own perception. Things are not bad, according to the president.
All right, the one on the Star. I have a new vision. This is a caricature once again of President William Ruto. Scrapping of Vision 2030 and bringing in Vision 2063, according to the Star. 2063.
Hata si 2060, 2063. And the one on the Standard, It has someone amempiga rangi ile ya chama fulani, chama tawala. Anatembea kutoka bunge, anasema it's raining millions inside there. You know, tulisikia ni kama pesa huwa inatembea. Alisema kuna kitu huwa inatembea. Na ilitembea. So ni ukweli, it's raining millions inside there, inside parliament. And we've been talking about this matters, bribery inside parliament. The commentator there says, it's the tumbocracy, stupid. I'm just reading. The cartoonist on the Standard. All right, so those are the cartoons and dailies telling us what we should be looking forward to on State of the Nation today. But before we take a break, let's take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi this morning. A quick look at the major trouble spots in Nairobi, and we start off with the Eastern Bypass all the way from Ruai, that interchange there. A bit of traffic at Utawala. More traffic even after you leave the Utawala area as you head towards the airport. So slow but moving, not so bad. Similar situation on Thika Road, slow but moving traffic in areas around KU, Githurai, Kasarani. But today there's a lot of traffic all the way from that deep after Garden City. Standstill traffic all the way to KCA University, meaning there could be an incident there because after that it eases off and builds up again once you get to the Pangani interchange. So if I told you around that area, KCA University, kindly let us know what's happening there because there's, the traffic there is not moving on Thika Road for a long stretch. Kiambu Road, not so bad. Jogoo Road, usual areas, Pale Makadara, nothing to report, and Pale Shauri Moyo, just before you get to the City Stadium roundabout. But today, on Pale areas around Mudhurwa, there's traffic. As you head towards town, areas around Machakos, there's a long stretch of red that goes all the way to that Landis Road roundabout, meaning hapo kuna shida, more traffic as you get into the CBD using Haile Selassie Avenue. Both sides of the road are busy this morning. Other areas of Nairobi, let's take a look at the major highways. That's Mombasa Road from the airport, nothing to report out of the ordinary. And Waiyaki also heading from the western side into the CBD is looking good. The other major roads, Angong Road, not so bad today, even at the Prestige Plaza, nothing much to report. Southern Bypass is green, also is Langata Road. So that's the traffic this Monday morning. Nothing much out of the ordinary, apart from that section on Thika Road between Garden City Mall and KCA University. All right, so we're just about to take a break so that we can usher in our guests for State of the Nation today. We'll be having political risk analyst Dismas Mokua in studio alongside others. Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo will be here alongside Joshua Nyamori, also Wakili. Governance expert Felicity Nkirote Biriri will be with us as well after the break. So do join us. Remember at 8 a.m. today, being a Monday, we'll be having the sports team on Monday Blitz, giving us a rundown of what's happening at WAFCON, what's happening with the Commonwealth Games, and a lot more, even as we prepare for the beginning of the English Premier League. Boli narudi. Mambo ni mengi. Acha tuone kama Vinicius ataamua akubali maneno yetu. Vinicius Junior akikubali, Manu atahama. Anyway.
In the meantime, interact with us, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X is TV47 Digital. Be sure to tag us. My personal handle is at Annie_Odida.
Mine is at Fred Indimoli. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Yetu.
See you after the break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako. Hamna pesa.
I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikikunyuma.
Oh my God. He left me.
Nitumie ni line. Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangu lini kero umeka kwa beauty product?
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
You won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani bubu linajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You know here?
Yes.
You learn the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
Then you move it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
To link up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani bubu linajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You know here?
Yes.
You learn the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
Then you move it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Nipatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya tomorrow.
Your turn.
Mzee ni budi nikamchoka.
Ni budi ya madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona. Hiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi nikamchoka.
Ni budi ya madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning. You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me.
Nitumie ni live.
Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? High five? Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
We won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Ooh, yeah. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Speaking during a church service in Uasin County, President Ruto said the proposed Vision 2060 framework would be anchored in law and shielded from partisan politics and election cycles. The head of state argued that while Kenya has made progress in implementing constitutional provisions on governance, human rights and political parties, the country is yet to fully realize the constitution's economic and development aspirations.
The Constitution of Kenya envisages a country that is democratic, a country based on the rule of law, a country that believes in human rights. It also envisages a wealthy and a prosperous nation, a developed nation.
Ruto maintained that the process of crafting the new development roadmap should not be left to political leaders alone, but must involve ordinary Kenyans alongside civil society, faith-based organizations, professionals and the youth.
Mimi kwa miaka minne nimekuwa kiongozi wa taifa hii letu la Kenya. Nimeona ya kwamba kweli inawezekana Kenya kuwa a first world country. I have seen it.
Hawa ni chura ambayo wanapiga kelele, lakini ng'ombe bado itakunywa maji, Your Excellency.
Kuna wengine wanasema ati hii ni mjadala ama ni discussion ambaye ni wrong timing. There is no time that is right for anybody to stay in poverty. It is always time for us to think how we can be a wealthy, a prosperous, a developed nation. Others have done it. We must do it.
However, the president dismissed claims that the proposal is linked to the 2027 general election, saying the national conversation is about securing Kenya's future beyond political contests.
Kuna viongozi ambao wako na matatizo sana na mimi kwa sababu nimesema tujenge manyumba, tuondoe watu kwa slums. Kuna watu wanapiga makelele ati mbona rais anashughulika na kuandikisha wananchi kila mtu awe na bima ya afya.
As the debate intensifies, Vision 2060 is shaping up to be both a development agenda and a new political battleground ahead of the 2027 general election. For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
Yes, Kenya's ambitions are stated by President William Ruto in his address to the nation last week. And this has elicited quite some reactions from a number of Kenyans. We want to gauge some of those reactions with my panelists today. Allow me to introduce them this morning. We're privileged to have on my immediate right, Ishmael Nyaribo, Advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana wakili.
Thank you.
Also Wakili Joshua Nyamori with us today, Advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana wakili. Felicity Nkirote Biriri is a governance expert and she's with us this morning. Karibu sana. Alongside Dismas Mokua, who's a political risk analyst. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, some of these things we do anticipate and do expect that the conversation about Kenya's progress will continue happening over time. But it's a timing that many people are questioning. And many people are saying that the president coming up with this conversation exactly 1 year to the next election, it would be very difficult not to tie it to his probably campaigns for re-election. Do you see where the confusion comes in, or probably the reluctance by Kenyans to take this as a genuine push for a new vision for Kenya? Wakili.
Yes, Fred, I think there have been many other national conversations in our country, both economic, political, social. You know, we have been discussing and we have been implementing several developmental plans, strategic plans. There was the economic recovery by Mwai Kibaki. Now, then Mwai Kibaki again brought the Vision 2030, which is supposed to hit until 2030. When you look at those plans and how they were initiated, people were involved, 100%. The economic recovery after Moi had left power, if you remember, we started that conversation around 2007. And it took off in 2008, just 1 year. Before the plan could be implemented. The plan we have today, the strategic plan we have, ends in 2030. What we should be talking today is taking audit in terms of what has happened and what did not happen. And then we should focus on how can we make elections transparent, fair, and liked by every voter, so that we don't pick up two very critical and important projects at the same time. And then, of course, the utterances that we need national conversation. I think nobody should criticize the president on that. It is important. We all have to have a conversation. But the conversation we need today is how elections will be transparent next year. And we do an audit. Because until 2030, from 2027, still you have 2028 and 2029. So it is early. And it seems as though there was a knee-jerk or some threat, and the president was under some impression. Then he simply came up and said we need a national conversation.
What do you think it serves, even politically, for him, beginning this conversation?
I think it's meant to dissuade. I mean, it's meant to divert people's attention from 2027 transparency.
Okay. Wakili Nyamori, if you look at Vision 2030, it was meant to outlive individual administrations. But many critics say that under Ruto's administration, a lot slowed down in as far as achieving what was meant in that ambition. That for him to come out now and talk of a new ambition, new vision, new outlook for the country. It sounds almost disingenuous coming in an election year. What would you say to that?
Fred, I think, I think you guys are jumping the gun. Jumping the gun because the president has simply invited us into a national conversation. There is never a time when it is wrong to hold a national conversation. Our, constitutional framework envisages a nation that is engaging itself on various issues. And on this particular issue, the president did not start discussing the matter the other day. I mean, we need to remember that the president put in place a team of experts led by Professor Hino and Professor Nyong'o several months ago. And this team has been working. It has been in the media that this team has reported to him before, and this team reported to him again recently. And that listening to his speech, he notes that the team has come up with a framework for a national conversation, has noted that the Vision 2030 is coming to an end in 2030. It would be wrong for us to wait until 2029 to begin that discussion. I would want to correct my learned colleague that the discussion about Vision 2030 started in 2007. It did not. I participated in the PRSP, Poverty Reduction Strategy paper for Poverty Reduction Strategy paper in between 1999 and 2001. Now, when we went into election, the new government then came up with economic recovery strategy paper for employment and wealth creation. That then, catapulted that from, an economy that had slowed down to an 8% growth by around 2005. And that strategy is what then led us to development of the Vision 2030 in 2008. And so my point is to ask, is the conversation necessary? I say that it is necessary, and it is necessary because the Vision 2030 has definitely helped us achieve certain goals, but there are certain, targets that we may have missed. Mm-hmm. We need to sit down as a country and ask ourselves, which points did we miss, and what do we need to do in setting up the next vision to ensure that they are missed? If you give me a minute, it is also important to note that the president went beyond that and said, we are not just going to discuss a vision. We are discussing a national compact. We are discussing a charter. A charter is a commitment that the government would make on certain targets that must be met, especially in attaining the promises of Article 43, which is the promise to housing, the promise to healthcare, and several other socioeconomic rights, and that this would be reduced into law, so that any administration, it does not need to be President William Ruto, when his term comes to at the end of 2032, the future administration should then still be committed to that. But beyond the government being committed to that, there would also be commitment from the other stakeholders, including the citizens, on what we need to do to ensure that those targets are met.
Thank you, Wakili.
Thank you.
The question really is about the timeliness, Felicity.
Yes.
Because you can see the cracks that are already emerging in the country. Is it the best time to have a conversation like this, which ideally should draw people together? Are we in that psyche as a country where we can actually sit down together and have a proper conversation about our future? That's the issue in an election year like this.
Yeah, so I think that's the problem, the main problem. Nothing wrong with the conversation about prosperity or moving forward as a country. But the problem is that the president has not been known to listen or to give priority to people's immediate needs. So in terms of trust, Kenyans don't trust that this is for their own good, that there must be something hidden, which I also agree. He's not been known to also refer to this Vision 2030 much. He brought drastic changes in terms of the way the affordable housing or access to decent housing is being done. He brought drastic changes to the universal health care. So it's the right conversation at the wrong time. And then people feel that there are more pressing needs. There are other issues that need a discussion. Apart from even evaluating our performance as far as achieving the Vision 2030 was concerned, we needed to first and foremost evaluate where are we, what have we achieved, what have we not achieved, what we have not achieved, are we going to put it in the next document, or how do we handle that? So people are just feeling that, as usual, it's a forced conversation at the wrong time. There are other more pressing needs. The other conversations that people have requested for have not been had. For instance, even on the broad-based, there was supposed to have been a conclave, there was supposed to have been 100 people who were supposed to meet to discuss the Gen Z protests, what the issues they were demanding for, some of them, which were what was meant to have been achieved as part of the Vision 2030. And they were all ignored. So people are feeling that there must be something that is hidden in this conversation. There must be something that we are being diverted from.
Something linked to politics?
Something, yes, of course, linked to politics. We are coming from a by-election, so the issue, IEBC is trying to talk about, saying no relaying of results by IEBC. There are such bills that are coming in.
Yes.
People are saying that the votes are not going to be counted at the polling station. So there's all these things that, you know, that lack clarity.
Yes.
And that's
probably
Kenyans,
what we should be looking at.
yes,
now.
And that Kenyans feel, you know, they want to bring this so that something else can pass.
Yes.
Behind the scenes.
This must, if you listen to Wakili Nyamori, he explained how the conversation around Vision 2030 came about and at what the timelines around 2005, a bit around midterm. Mwai Kibaki's first term as president, and then the implementation in 2008 after the elections. Do you agree that probably it's a bit uncomfortable to have this conversation right now? Do you think there's a risk that this very necessary conversation that we should be having as a country could be diluted by bringing it too close to a very competitive election?
I remember not a long time ago, a telecom CEO said that Kenyans are very peculiar. And indeed, from the conversations on this table, Kenyans are very peculiar. We are told in leadership and governance that a failure to plan is planning to fail. Now, Vision 2030 is coming to an end in the next 3 years. You must start that process of establishing another vision. And it matters not who is the president today. You must have a vision, because as a country, you cannot fly rudderless. You need to have a vision. But the risk here is that all conversation in Kenya are anchored by political biases. And we have these insatiable appetites of attacking personalities instead of attacking ideas. And when the president said we need to have this national conversation, you would have predicted with 100% accuracy that the broad-based administration, the members would support it. That is UDA, ODM, and the other political parties. And you could predict with 100% accuracy that these other politicians, Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua, would not support it. Now, because we love attacking personalities, the national conversation is going to face serious challenges. Because already, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua has attacked the national conversation without giving merits.
Wasn't that expected?
Yeah, on account that it's been fronted by President Ruto, and he's doing this not in his capacity as a head of government, but as head of state. Kalonzo Musyoka has already attacked it. In fact, I saw the McQueen governor saying that what we need to address is food security today. But when you're coming up with the Vision 2030, the basics indicate that you have short-term plans and long-term plans. They're building blocks. You achieve short-term things, food security, healthcare security, housing security. You achieve all those as you capture the plan. And the question about the right timing, Kenyans Understand we are about 55 million Kenyans, and we are 55 million politicians in Kenya. You can never ever have the right time. Wherever you come up with an idea, and I can bet my head, if it was Mr. Rigathi Gachagua who came up with this idea, every other person who opposes him would have said it's a complete waste of time. Now, unfortunately, when you want to have a national conversation that captures the interests and aspirations of all Kenyans, it's going to be compromised, because now people who are loyal to Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, for instance, will not participate in this conversation.
But let me ask
so how do you make progress without carrying the entire nation?
We've seen this kind of discussions, including the NATCO, that happened after, you see, the fallout from the results of the election in 2022, the upheaval that came, and then after that, a lull in political activity, then introduction of a national conversation. That conversation would not probably have been possible in the days or months preceding the 2022 election. Don't you think that's the same problem we have now? That is the right time to introduce a national conversation when people are thinking in unity or are trying to heal the nation, and they're thinking cohesively, and not at this time where divisions are so rife.
Well, you know, the past conversations you mentioned have been created by a crisis that the nation is bleeding. If you don't have these political heavyweights who are pursuing their selfish interests masqueraded as national interest, if you don't bring them together, then the nation is going to collapse. Right now, there is no political crisis. The only thing we have is a political competition. And in my view, for us to make progress, this national conversation can be a success if and only if it's led by eminent Kenyan scholars and practitioners and immunized from politicians, political parties, and political actors. Because the moment you make them the drivers of this process, then believe you me, you are not going to make progress.
Yes, but politicians are not known to leave such to the common Kenyan. Already many are claiming ownership of this conversation. This is what the ODM party leader had to say about the Vision 2060 and who owns it. All right, we're going to have that clip immediately after we come from a break. You're watching TV47 Breakfast.
Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link Up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that a hotel is the home for travelers.
Tonight, I invite every Kenyan to what I believe will become the most consequential national conversation since the adoption of our Constitution in 2010. A national conversation about Kenya's development charter. This is a national undertaking about the future of our republic, about the development imperatives enshrined in the articles of our Constitution, the attainment of the Constitution's high development aspirations and the opportunities we owe future generations as a result. This national conversation must rise above politics, transcend electoral cycles, and unite us around a shared destiny. For 2 decades, Vision 2030 shaped our national development priorities, informed public policy, catalyzed investments, and most importantly, inspired the promulgation of our new constitution. As Vision 2030 approaches its horizon, our responsibility is not simply to replace it with another government document or plan. Our responsibility is far greater under the 2010 Constitution. That is, to craft a new national development charter that gives effect to the development imperatives enshrined in the Constitution and to decide together what kind of Kenya we want to build over the next generation and beyond. That conversation belongs to each one of us.
That 2060 was an idea of our late Raila Amolo Odinga. And the team which crafted it was formed by the late Raila Amolo Odinga. And therefore, we are 100% supporting it because it is our idea, it is our contribution to the coalition.
We umeshinda kiti moja na tulali. Wacha nikuambie, wacha kiburi, game ni 90.
Yes, it's what the party leader of ODM said, that it belongs to one Raila Amolo Odinga. Politicians are very quick to take ownership of this, and it's expected that they would do so.
I didn't know, actually. Yeah. I didn't even know that there's a blueprint by the ODM, former ODM leader, Raila Odinga. I didn't know. And this is where the problem is, Fred. We say, we have been talking a bit about planning, and we have the vision, and then there are, mid-term, like Dismas calls them, blocks that piece together to make the whole bigger vision and project. We need to be discussing why are our children dying. That is the conversation we need. We need to be discussing why does the executive move ahead by itself without the people. Then they come back to remember that, we've actually left our people so much now we need a national conversation. This is where people are hurting. We need to, there should be no much explanation, Fred. If a leader is so good, there should be no much explanation. Even this 2060 or 20 whatever, it would be accepted without a word. But you see, the problem is you bring up a suggestion, then people don't get it, people don't understand, and then you spend a lot of time trying to explain it. The problem we have today is the 2030 vision has not properly been implemented, and it's because of the executive. It's not because of the people. People don't want to be poor. There is no need to go on media and say that there is no constitution that envisages that you should be. We are poor. We are paining. So there is nothing to explain about whether we want to come out of poverty or not. So the major problem here has been a head of state and the people around him, especially his advisors, who insist on taking a certain trajectory that is actually completely ignoring people. People have hunger. People are saying our children are being abducted. We don't know where they go. People are saying we don't have health facilities which are working. Those are the issues. If you discuss those, by the way, no one would come up and oppose any idea you bring up in terms of Vision 20 whatever. But unless you discuss these things satisfactorily, without explanation, Fred, when you are doing your work and it is working, and everything can be seen that it is working, no one would be opposing you. Neither do you need a lot of explanation for that.
Yeah, those who argue that this is just President William Ruto's attempt to have a new vehicle for his campaigns, that this is how he's going to repackage his re-election campaigns. it is difficult to argue with them because it is. He talked about 12th of August, already a year into the election.
Yeah. Let me start from the point that listening to Dr. Oburu, I remember that our late statesman, Raila Amolo Odinga, actually came out. I think that was around 7th of July last year, and talked about a conclave. A conclave, he was asking Kenyans to sit down and discuss. And you know, Raila Amolo Odinga has, for many years, led the struggle not only for political rights, but also for economic rights. You remember him talking about the cost of living, okay? Now, if you then look at what the president addressed, the president said that between 2010 and now, we have focused on delivery of the political rights, and political rights in terms of who and how do we put people in power, and how do we control them, okay? How do we constrain power? That it is time to look at the rest of the Constitution. And Wakili will agree with me that, Article 43, which is a socioeconomic right that talks about housing, talks about health, talks about education, and other socioeconomic rights, is the crux of what the masses are interested in. That even when we talk about election, even when we talk about constraint of power, we are doing it so that we can provide food, we can provide housing, we can provide education to our people. And that the president is telling us, ladies and gentlemen, let us take a pause and ask ourselves, rather than just discussing who is going to continue in power or stay in power, shouldn't we focus on this Article 43? And Article 43, if you, because the Constitution is supposed to be read wholesomely, if you look at Article 21, the government is obligated to come up with policy, legislative, programmatic, and other interventions to ensure that the promise of Article 43 is actually met. So this is a president who has foreseen that whilst Vision 2030, which was developed in the pre-2010 period, is coming to an end, we do not have a new vision. But then he says that we don't just need a vision because we have had visions of, making Kenya a middle-income economy under Vision 2030. But what happened is that we developed under the Mwai Kibaki a few billionaires, and then we developed one part of the country at the expense of the rest of the country. So he's saying, why don't we put this in law? Have a national compact, have a charter in which the government, we can have measurable targets that successive governments will have to meet for the next 30 years to ensure we can actually measure whether we are providing housing, whether we are providing education, whether we are providing health and other socioeconomic rights to the extent necessary for this country to move forward. And then as a nation, we could also have, a charter and a commitment on what we need to do. That we need to, we need to banish characters like the MP for Mukurueni, who can stand up in public and threaten citizens in a region if the citizens do not support their tribal agenda, and that if those citizens support other people. So those are certain things that we will need to discuss as a country.
And that's a question
that is why, as I end, I want to say that there is never a better time for this. In fact, the fact that we are going into an election year,
yes,
it's critical for us to have this conversation so that this election year is not going to be about who is going to stay in power or who is going to take power. Rather, it is going to be a negotiation, a discussion I mean, it is going to be a campaign based on who best fits the standards to enable us to achieve this vision moving to 2030.
You do agree, Wakili, therefore, that William Ruto as a politician will be keen to take credit for giving us this blueprint towards 2060, and he can use that credit for his campaigns.
He has welcomed everybody. I mean, if Kalonzo Musyoka wants to, project what he sees as Vision 2030 and mobilize the rest of the country to align to that vision, so be it. He has invited everybody, including the tribalists,
but who takes the credit
like Rigathi Gachagua, to at least for the first time start imagining a national vision and forget about imagining a small village vision.
You're still not answering my question.
The President William Ruto is a politician.
He will take credit.
But he is the head of state.
He will take credit.
There is no problem with him taking credit. And all of us, I have taken credit for having participated in the PRSP. I'm taking credit for it. What is wrong with President William Ruto taking credit?
In an election year, everyone is seeking something they can ride on. Even the ODM party leader and anyone else, either opposing this or proposing it. President William Ruto, among all the politicians we're talking about, probably is best placed to take that credit, if at all he manages to bring people together for this national conversation. Do you agree that probably this is his plan, a campaign plan?
This is his, yes, this is his plan. But then again, I want to repeat what we as Kenyans are saying is that we have so much unfinished business. Things are not being done right. They want to take as business as usual, and yet we feel it's the right conversation at the wrong time. So we have unfinished business. We have the conclave that we are talking about that we are supposed to discuss, the cost of living, electoral reforms, and so many other things, unemployment. And then you start bringing another conversation on top of the unfinished one. So Kenyans are like, why would you bring this before we finish the other conversation? We feel we have not even achieved, what, I would say, what, 40% or 30% of Vision 2030. How do you start crafting another vision even before you achieve half of the previous blueprint that you had? I read somewhere that we've only done 4 out of the 44 projects that were envisioned to have been done by 2030. So if you've only done 4 out of 44 projects, seriously, is this the time to have a conversation about the next vision? And what does that mean about the 40 projects that have not been done of the 44 to achieve Vision 2030?
Okay.
So we feel that the emphasis would have been on what were the hits and what were the misses, and how do we deal with that? Even if it was for, I saw scholars evaluating, talking about the Vision 2060, which was all good. But I think the emphasis should have been on the evaluation of the Vision 2030.
Okay.
And then we can know what we are carrying forward to the next one, which was going to make us achieve Vision 2060 faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question now is, who will own the narrative? Because it would appear that the president is keen on owning this one in a political year. Of course, his opponents will oppose everything that he says or does right now because they cannot agree in an election year. You do not expect them to agree. The president, therefore, looks like he's trying to take advantage to change the political narrative that is going on right now. Issues about 2-term and 1-term, and he wants to direct people elsewhere. Do you think it's a good strategy for him?
Well, if you're the president and you want to be in charge of conversations, you have to do what exactly President Ruto has done. And because he's the head of state, he's the head of government, he's the president of the Republic of Kenya, he's got a constitutional and fiduciary responsibility to paint the picture of where he wants Kenya to go for the next 30 years. And he cannot do this alone. It must be driven by citizens, public participation, so that every single Kenyan has got his interests and aspirations captured in that national conversation, which will crystallize to Vision 2060. There's no debating that people are going to get political capital out of this. So in my view, if you want to run for any political office, this national conversation is the best forum for you to come up and present your ideas at the marketplace, present your perspectives at the marketplace. And in my view, we need to build a very solid national conversation, a very solid vision, so that when political parties are crafting their manifestos, all manifestos should be drinking from the national vision. So that political competition is going to be based on your capacity and competence to execute Vision 2060. Right now, some panelists have said that what we have here as a priority is food insecurity or elections. But how do you have these conversations in isolation? These are supposed to be the building blocks of that Vision 2060. But unfortunately, as we sit and have this conversation, people are looking at this using their political biases. As we have this conversation, if President Ruto says, I don't know whether the sky is blue outside right now, but if the president says the sky is blue, a good part of Kenya will say, wait a minute, it's not blue. They live and say, no, we need a scientist. But I don't know why we are these peculiar. When we talk about, she's indicated that out of the 44 projects within Vision 2030, it's 4 which have been a success. Now, she needs to elaborate on which 4 are these. But you see, when you set up a vision, nobody is aiming for 100% success rate. If you achieve a success rate, say, of 10 or even 50%, then you go back and do an audit and ask, we wanted to get to Vision 2030. These are the challenges we face. These are the opportunities. And the biggest challenge with Vision 2030 has been that every president who comes on with their own priorities. President Jomo Kenyatta had his priorities. President Moi had his priorities. President Kibaki had his priorities. President Kenyatta again had his priorities. President Ruto had his priorities. Now we want to have a national conversation so that we have Mura's priorities, so that it matters not who is in office. If we need, for instance, food security, food to be affordable and available, it matters not who is in office. The food must be available, must be affordable. If we need to have a free, fair election where you have predictable systems for unpredictable outcomes, it matters not who is at IEBC. It matters not who is the Minister for Interior. Yes. That it's a vision which captures the interest and aspirations of all Kenyans.
Fred, do you remember there was a BBI just before elections in 2022? This is headed to, it's just, it will die before even it begins. Right. I mean, it was a good idea to some extent because it was trying to capture the mood of the country to be inclusive. And Raila Odinga was in that. But it was shot down.
Because of politics.
Because it was just about 2022's election.
Let's listen to what Rigathi Gachagua has said about this vision, then continue this discussion.
Na huyu rais ameenda pale kuleta Vision 2060. Sisi watu ya Kenya hatutaki vision, tunataka vitendo. Mambo ya doto hatutaki. Mtu akitaka kuota ataota kwake. Si ndio? Sisi tunataka vitendo. Hapa Nyandarua aliahidi barabara mingi sana. Hii ya kutoka Murungaru kwenda Tarasha pale kwa Kimathi, bibi ya Kimathi, barabara zote zimesimama. Kuna barabara amejenga. Watu ya Nyandarua wanataka ujenge barabara. Hawezi goja hii barabara mpaka 2060. Ni mbali sana. Tukiingia mambo ya kilimo, mambo ya GML, Guaranteed Minimum Return, tulikuwa tumekubaliana na William Ruto kabla hajachaguliwa. Na hapa Nyandarua tulifanya Economic Forum. Tukakubaliana mambo ya viazi, mambo ya carrots, mambo ya barabara ya kupeleka vyakula sokoni. Hakuna kitu imetimizwa. Sasa uchaguzi imebaki mwaka mmoja, unaambia sisi ati tuanze mambo ya vision ya 2060. Na hiyo maneno hatuwezi kubali. Ukiangalia mambo ya miwa pale katika magharibi, kabla William Ruto kuingia kwa ofisi, 1 ton ya cane ilikuwa 6,500. Sasa imeteremshwa mpaka 5,000. Wakulima pale magharibi wanalia. Hao wakulima hawataki mambo ya Vision 2060. Wanataka bei ya miwa ikuwe sawasawa, aidha vile ilikuwa ama iongezeke. Tukiingia mambo ya mchele pale Mwea na Ahero, mchele umejaa kwa masto. Huyu William Ruto na wafanyabiashara wenzake wameleta mchele kutoka nje 500 metric tons ya mchele ambaye watu ya Mwea na Ahero wameenda kotini wanaumia. Hawa wakulima ya mchele ya Mwea na Ahero, usiambie mambo ya vision ya 2060. Wanataka usimamishe kulete mchele kutoka nje. Mchele yao inunuliwe hapa Kenya. Hapana ahidi hao mambo ya 2060. Wanahitaji hiyo pesa sahihi wapeleke watoto shule. Ukiingilia mambo ya mahindi kwa nyumbani, iko 70% crop failure kwa sababu fertilizer ililetwa gushi, fake fertilizer, so there is crop failure. Sasa wale wakulima wa mahindi hawataki waambiwe mambo ya 2060.
Bwana Nyiribo, you must agree that that one addressed by the president has managed to turn the conversation to what he wants.
Yes, of course.
Either way, that now all the opposition leaders are now responding to what the president had said.
Yeah.
A few weeks before that, the president was playing catch-up and trying to respond to opposition leaders.
Of course.
Success?
He is not a dull president. We all know that. In terms of fast moves, he is very swift, and I think President William Ruto understands what the issues are. The problem is he always goes alone, number one. Number two, he actually never quite listens to the plight of people. He decides to listen to a section of society, his friends, his supporters, but he does not seem to listen to what Mount Kenya is saying, because Mount Kenya is also part of Kenya, and that's why you see Rigathi Gachagua always hitting him. And let me tell you, we should not be drawn into the bitterness between Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto. That's a totally different story. We should be focused on criticizing the government where it is not, delivering. And this is what we are against, that you cannot come up and say, this is a year of audit, according to us, because 2030 is 3 years. You can be doing the planning, there is no doubt, but you should be auditing what has been done and tell Kenyans what difficulties you found in delivering the Vision 2030. And people will believe you, by the way. If you say, we have cartels around me who don't allow me to rest, who I can't work, and you can see when they pick your children, I call the investigative agencies, and then suddenly I realize it is so-and-so or some other quarter that are taken your children. People will love him and respect him. But to wash away all that and step them under your feet and then say, now we need a new conversation, people feel, sort of slighted, and they feel like you are not really paying attention to their plight. And that's where the problem is. Yeah. And as I was telling you, Fred, this is an election period. There is no doubt that that discussion will actually fade away, or if they try to implement it, it will be rejected at the end of the day, whether through courts or wherever, because it is an election period, and human beings are reasonable. They imagine that, okay, you are worried about 2027 winning, and now you're bringing this heavy, important national issue. So you should focus on how to make elections transparent, how to ensure that the elections are going to transmitted live so that we can see, and how to make sure that people are protected. When my brother talks about Article 43, remember, the writers of the Constitution placed it in number 43. There is Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fundamental rights. Citizens must feel comfortable and protected, secure in their own nation. Before now we go to implementing actually the practical, rights about whatever you want. We must, respect the fundamental rights of citizens. You should walk in Nairobi streets and Mombasa streets or Moyale fully aware that you are a child of this nation. But people walk scared of, what is going to happen. If you speak freely and openly, you are being subjected to torture. That is not what the Constitution, envisages. So I'm sure this is a project that will indeed fade away with time, yes.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree that it will fade away with time?
I listened to my learned friend, and I'm not surprised, because the opposition and their sympathizers would want sloganeering over political issues. They would not want the people of Kenya to sit down and have a honest discussion about our socioeconomic situation and where we want to get to. Because they know in that area, they have no agenda, they have no idea, they have no vision. And that is why you would listen to Rigathi Gachagua, who actually thinks after talking and has no time to think of the future. You know, thinking about trying to dissuade us not to think about the future. Now, President William Ruto cannot be beaten in socioeconomic discussion. And that is why the opposition is very afraid when we come to socioeconomic discussion. Because when we come to socioeconomic discussion, the president is able to tell that I have made an impact on education, on housing, on health, okay? And these are measurable. And this would then align with the national compact that is being proposed. The opposition would want us to get busy discussing slogans. I think the president has invited them into a national discussion. Any one of them who has a contrary view on how to take this country to the first world, okay? And that is where we want to go, should bring the ideas to that discussion. And this discussion is not going to be a discussion of politicians. This is going to be a discussion of Mamamboga and Boda Boda and the labor movement.
Do you see a risk for the president
yes.
Now that he's drawing people to this, and that his a performance in as far as ensuring Vision 2030 is achieved will come under scrutiny? That there have been obvious failures, especially on around industrialization, GDP. The growth had been set at 10%. I think that was the anticipation. It has stagnated or declined around 7-8% in recent years. This will come out if people start discussing this.
It's only weak leaders who are afraid of a discussion on the truth that would also enable the country to discuss their performance. President William Ruto is not a weak leader. President William Ruto is a strong leader, is an informed leader, is a competent leader. Is a leader who is able to stand before the country and tell them that I have stabilized the economy. The macroeconomic fundamentals. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I have ensured that through affordable housing program, I have 640,000 young people working. Through the Nyota program, I have 800,000 young Kenyans who have gotten a grant from the government and is doing their business. And that he has been able to increase productivity, and that he has been able to lay out infrastructure like the ongoing SGR extension to Malaba, the Rironi-Mau Summit Road, that he is working on, certain things that previous administrations have failed in. So the opposition is afraid of this moment. The president cannot be afraid of this moment because he has intervened and he has conceded. He has conceded that Vision 2030 may have not achieved everything. We need to, the discussions that my colleagues are talking about are discussions that we should have within the context of this national conversation.
Thank you so much, Wakili, for that.
Yes.
But Felicity, anyone introducing a new vision, yet he has had the opportunity to, for years and failed because 5 out of 44 flagship projects only achieved. 30% so far. He's been president for 10 years.
And
for 4 years. He's been deputy president for 10 years. He served in the higher education ministry. Since 2008 when he started, he was in cabinet. Is he the right person to introduce a new vision, yet he's had such an opportunity like no other person and has not done anything tangible with it?
He is definitely the president, and introducing a new conversation is not an issue. The problem is that, like I said, he has never even been a believer in. Have you heard him quoting 2030, Vision 2030, in any of his speeches? He doesn't refer much to Vision 2030. So there's like I said, Kenyans don't trust that he even believes in it in the first place. So there's planning, and then on top of that, there's planning and there's implementation. So the implementation, we give a D or a C-. And before we work on the implementation, we start planning again. And if you listen to the former deputy president, what he is saying is that this is what it is on the ground when you talk about food security. How are we going to achieve food security when we have the fertilizer that he's talking about? How are we going to afford to talk about affordable housing when houses are costing 4 million, 3 million, 2 million, and they're built on government land using people's money that has been taken from pay slips, and yet they're being sold for those kind of prices. When you talk about affordable housing, we are talking about houses that cost Kenya shillings 300,000, 500,000. The most expensive house should be 800,000. Yes, when you talk about slum upgrading, you're not talking about giving people. Tell me how many people have moved from the slums into a 4 million house or a 3 million house or even a 2 million house. So what we are saying is that there is planning and there is implementation. In implementation, it's a D.
Okay.
And then now we are back to planning, even before we discuss how are we implementing the affordable housing, how are we implementing the universal health care, the SHA and the SHE and the SHIF and whatever it is, how are we implementing the education where we have drastic reforms in university funding, in capitation for the lower, education. So we have all these hiccups, and before we resolve them, we are already planning for Vision 2060. People don't trust that you mean well for them.
And it's true, Didmus, that this president has been criticized for not really being a believer in Vision 2030. Yet he's been there from the start, 2008, in Cabinet, Agriculture Ministry, Higher Education Ministry, before he even had a better chance as Deputy President for 10 years, now as President. Then what can you tell us about the achievement of Vision 2030 first, before now giving us a new dream? Did you see that he's opening up a room for a lot of criticism on his own achievements in as far as Vision 2030 is concerned?
All the politicians leading political parties in Kenya have been around for at least 27 years from the time the vision was created. So they're part of the problem, and they are part
including
of
the president?
Yeah, all of them. They've been at least for 27 years. They are part of the problem, and they're also part of the solution. The DCP leader was a member of the National Assembly for 5 years and a deputy president for 2 years. So he's part of the problem and he's part of the solution. Now, all the issues we are raising here are supposed to inform that conversation. And it will be a very good time now for these, our national leaders, starting from President Ruto, when you're having this national conversation, to say, these were the responsibilities I was given as part of Vision 2030. These were my successes, these were my failures, so that we audit all these leaders. Unfortunately, we are attacking personalities instead of attacking ideas. Now, Felicity says that President Ruto never mentions 2030 in his conversations. Assuming that is the case, it's the reason why we need an all-inclusive national conversation, so that every person who is elected into office must be discussing Vision 2060, because Vision 2060 captures the interest and aspirations of all Kenyans. Now, let's go back before Mr. Rigathi was impeached. There's a very high probability that if Mr. Rigathi Gachagua had not been impeached, if he was still serving today as the deputy president, and Ruto speaks about this national conversation, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua would be the first person to say this is a game changer, and this is what the doctor has prescribed for Kenyans. And it's so unfortunate that we are creating politicians who are more powerful than systems, who are more powerful than ideas. Believe you me, the issues we are talking about here, especially from Mount Kenya, the guaranteed minimum returns, reforms in the tea sector, reforms in the coffee sector, if you're talking about reforms in the sugar sector, all these are supposed to anchor these conversations around Vision 2030. That how do we want to run our food security? How do we want to run our healthcare security? But if we just criticize without giving ideas, it means that if you're not very careful, that our neighboring countries, starting from Burundi, very soon they're going to beat us. For instance, Kigali is coming up with a big airport. So if we do not have this national conversation, put our acts together and elevate this airstrip called JKI, then in the next few days, all the cargo business, all the passenger business will be going to Kigali. So we need to sit as a nation and ask ourselves that we tend to make many mistakes by electing leaders who don't have capacity and competence and do use all these things for their selfish interest. Right. For instance, in this national conversation, we must agree that we are going to respect the Constitution. But are we going to respect the Constitution when it is said that an MP from Ukraine says that, wait a minute, if you vote for a particular candidate, then you have no business in this part of the world? How is that respecting the Constitution? All right. So in my view, we must immunize ourselves from these toxic politicians and have the interest of Mura at the forefront.
All right. Thank you for that, because I want us to move on to another discussion. Of course, Kenya's Vision 2060, as declared by President William Ruto, is a discussion that we're supposed to have, a national discussion beginning the 12th of this month. And whichever direction that conversation will take, we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, many people talking about it, saying they're opposed to it. As expected, it is an election year. And opposing factions will definitely oppose whatever it is that comes their way. I want us to consider, because the headline on the front page of the Standard, as we have about 20 minutes or so to the end of the show. Recipe for rigging. A fresh bid to scrap the IEBC's duty to live stream polling station results has now triggered alarm ahead of the 2027 general election. The bill, sponsored by Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheruyot and Minority Leader Stewart Madzayo, is before the Senate's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and seeks to remove one of the key transparency safeguards introduced after past disputed polls. Critics say the move would make it harder for the public and the media to independently verify results, fueling fears of electoral manipulation. With the election less than a year away, its timing has intensified suspicion that the changes could benefit President William Ruto if the integrity of the electoral process is compromised. Let's consider that for a minute. And there have been so many discussions after the elections of 2022. This matter has already gone to court. It's declared that the results at every polling station, those are the final results. But the requirement for live streaming of results to the tallying center is something that we're already used to and probably would help many Kenyans follow through the media to also help collect the results for the benefit of the public. Why do you think this is necessary now? And do you agree that this change could benefit either one or many of the candidates?
Yeah, this is pure politics again, Fred. And I think in the end, by the way, it will be shut down. I don't think where we have reached already, anybody would want to accept obscure or, announcing elections that are from some hidden source. For your information, the law does not say that streaming elections is the final results. The law only envisages a situation where the chairman of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission will announce the results. The results that he announces are the correct results. Nonetheless, if during the streaming we see that there is 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 8 million, 10 million, then the chairman comes up and says, no, what you saw was extremely wrong. The right results are these. Then, of course, we will question him in terms of transparency. So, Kenya is a growing nation, and we are so different from Tanzania, Uganda, whatever, even Rwanda for that matter. We cannot be taken back from where we have come from. And if anybody respects Raila Odinga, that is what he used to say. We've covered so much ground that to return us back as is it Chariot or Chirarge, is trying to bring a motion to again make streaming of results be cancelled. It's next to impossible. Yeah. There are no citizens who are ready for that. There are no courts that will actually, nod such a step. So the intention is definitely so that the powers that are vested in the state can be misused. So that when we are asleep, and I remember in 2007, that's what happened, where a person was leading, that was Raila Odinga, leading all the way up to midnight. Then in the morning, things had changed. So I don't think that Kenya is willing to travel that road again because it has been painful. We must have our election results streamed live. Then the chairman can announce whatever he has in his record, then Kenyans can compare whether it was actually transparent and correct. It is the law that says that elections voting and the declaration of results must be accountable, must be transparent, must be factual. And you must show that what you are announcing meets those standards, yes.
Wakili, what is your opinion? Because if we may go by the proposers of this amendment, sponsors, Senate Majority Leader and Senate Minority Leader, who are in the same political formation, what benefit do they have to delete that clause that allows for transmission, live transmission of results? What is the big deal? Why go back on a gain that we are already enjoying as a country?
Yeah, I must confess that I have not read the bill, so I will not competently comment on the details of the bill.
Yes, but
however, from what appears in the media, the question is the Constitution envisages a transparent, an accountable and a verifiable election process. And this election process starts with, declaration of results at the polling station. Mm-hmm. And it has been decided by courts that that is final, okay? Then we also have provisions for transmission of these results via scanned copies that are fed into the system, and that happened instantaneously. My thinking is, when I read this, is that they're talking about the declaration that is made by the commissioners at Bomas, and whether that should be
that they can streamline
live stream
the results, yes,
or not. I think it is a matter that we should debate. I would sue for a transparent process. But I also know that in 2007, one of the things that we were warned against is live streaming of events during election process and political sensitive moments threatening the security of the nation, and sometimes possibility that a wrong or unverified information could actually be streamed live. And I know, I'm not sure whether that has changed, that there was a policy that even media houses should delay, even for 30 seconds or a minute, the streaming of anything they collect from the field, so that it is possible for the editor to take responsibility for what is streamed. So my view is that while we should be focused on ensuring that transparency of the process is not compromised, we should also ensure that somebody takes ultimate responsibility to ensure that what is transmitted live is a correct figure, and that we will not get into a situation where a wrong figure gets out and then we start debating whether it was the wrong or the right figure.
But that is my view. We are yet to experience anything like that where wrong results are transmitted. Felicity, so what would be the import of this? Why change something that has been working?
It's very suspect. We don't know what this opaqueness is meant to cure. The people who are introducing the bill themselves, like you're saying, are from the same formation. So for us, we feel we are moving backwards, and especially in this day and time when parliamentary independence is at its lowest. As Kenyans, we feel very afraid that this may go through, because the parliament has just been, I don't think there's anything they've debated vigorously the way we saw the security bill, the way they used to fight. These days, everything is just yes, yes, yes. And if you're not sure about it, you just abstain, like in the finance bill, where 188 MPs did not turn up to vote for the finance bill. So again, these are the things that we are saying that we feel are being camouflaged so that they can go through as we discuss Vision 2060. Mm-hmm. So we are waiting to see, because we don't see, we are moving backwards. Mm-hmm. Transparency, from a credibility and transparency point of view of free, fair, transparent, credible elections. Mm-hmm. If there is no live streaming, where is the transparency? Are we moving forward or moving backwards? Yes. So yeah, lack of live streaming is is increasing opaqueness.
Yes. What is your opinion on this?
Mismanaging elections is a threat to national security. Opaqueness is a threat to national security. Suspicion is a threat to national security. So anybody coming up with a piece of legislation that in any way from a distance has got wafts of opaqueness or suspicion must be called out because it's not acceptable. We have said times above number that IEBC should be focused on creating predictable systems for unpredictable outcomes. These predictable systems must be very transparent, such that Mora can actually touch that system. That is the way it's supposed to be. And in my view, the only thing the National Assembly and Senate must do is just to ensure that these the 2027 elections are not surrounded by misinformation and disinformation, and the live streaming is not used by nefarious actors to be a threat to national security. But in a country where there are low levels of trust, deficits, all these kind of things, coming up with another legislation or proposals or regulations which can raise a suspicion is unacceptable. And I've just gone through the newspaper reports, and the IEBC chairman says is not aware of this conversation, that IEBC has not proposed, and they have not taken a position on this. Then one wonders, on what motion is the Senate moving if the IEBC is not alive to this? In my view, without the benefit of also having gone through that draft to understand the contents, we must strive to make sure that IEBC, as we are told, is like Caesar's wife, beyond suspicion, beyond reproach, because right now Kenyans are boiling over with fury, depending on where you come from. And we don't want to go back to 2007, whereby when IEBC declares a winner, we say, wait a minute, was there live streaming? In my view, we should have multiple live streaming, but ensure that anybody who wants to take advantage of live streaming to mislead the nation, to engage in misinformation or disinformation, faces pecuniary and criminal penalties. Okay. That is it, yeah.
And Wakili, as a final comment, because our time is up, the amendment bill proposes other things apart from this one on live streaming. It talks about gender representation, party nominations, recall of MPs, definitely things that we need to have talked about and discussed. Some of this were discussed during the NATCO conversation, but it has become a trend that we leave a lot of these things to the tail end, almost to the tail end of the process. Months to the elections, then we start amending the elections laws again. What does that say about the integrity of our elections and the suspicion in an electoral cycle like this one?
Well, now we have a new team in office. We believe they mean well with all the challenges. Let's see how they perform anyway. But the problem is it is suspect in terms of the timing of introducing a new bill. By the way, because we have done so far so well in our governance all through in terms of elections, I don't think we need to throw spanner into the works at this stage. That's why we are thinking that when you bring up something at the tip end that's suggesting some opaqueness or something like that, then we think it doesn't mean well. So for me, I think we have covered ground. We have been transparent. We have tried to put our leaders in check. That should not be changed at the last minute. The election should be transparent, should be accountable, should be factual as much as can be.
Yes. Wakili, what do you think about this trend of going to court or going back to parliament to change electoral laws a year to election?
No, I think we will continue refining our laws. That should not be a problem. And we can refine laws until the last minute, a day to elections, if need be, because laws are supposed to be amended or changed to meet the exigencies of the moment. But even as I say that, my point is let's analyze what has been proposed. As I say, I have not read the bill, but in your own words, there could be other things that are important for our electoral process, like gender representation and so on and so forth. If we can then be able to agree on what as a country we think is important, let those be passed. But anything that would then limit transparency, accountability, verifiability of elections, that one we should reject as a nation. But then I think it would be too early for us to discuss this until, let Parliament tell us exactly what they want to do. And we have forums within the public participation processes through which we can, engage in a rigorous debate on some of these things and reject what we think is not appropriate. Okay. So I still have faith that we have an independent IEBC and that it will deliver elections just as it delivered elections in Olkalau. It cannot be that when it delivers in Olkalau, then it is a delivering IEBC, but when it delivers in other constituencies, then it is not an independent IEBC. Finally, I think it is wrong to try to, link this with the leadership of the country, noting the fact that this is a bipartisan process in which we have the majority leader and the minority leader both signing and supporting that process. Yes. So we are hoping that it will, the final product will actually represent not only the entire Senate and the National Assembly, but it will also carry the vision and views of Kenyans. Yes, but otherwise, I call on Kenyans that let us start thinking about Vision 2060.
I ordinarily would not give a qualification to that, but the issue is that both the majority and minority,
yes, exactly,
both houses of parliament are on one side of the political divide.
They are in different parties.
No, they are not. They are on the
they're in the Felicity, your final comment.
They are in the actually, that's my fear also, that both the minority and the majority leader are in the broad-based government. So they're on the same side and they're in agreement. Whatever it is that they want to bring in, they're in agreement. So we will read the bill, like we are saying, and obviously we'll be waiting to hear what our chief opposition leader is going to say.
Are you saying that when broad-based speaks,
Parliament has spoken? We will wait to hear from Wamunyoro.
All right.
well, Felita has made a statement, you should worry all Kenyans, that whatever Mr. Rigathi Gachagua says, the de facto opposition leader is always the gospel truth, which is unacceptable because he has already suffocated multi-party democracy in Mount Kenya, which is a constitutional bloc. But let's give that warning shot, that it matters not whether you are from UDA or ODM. If you want to introduce any piece of legislation or regulations which will compromise morals agency in this election, it's unacceptable. So it matters not from which political party, because Mura must go and cast a ballot, and a ballot must count. And I suspect, or rather actually, there's no doubt in my mind that the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, would not preside over a session or allow the National Assembly to pass any piece of legislation that can be a threat to our national security. Because you see, every 1 year before an election and 1 year after an election, because of the mischievous behavior of a number of politicians, we get into unnecessary tensions, which is unacceptable. Yeah. And as Felicia has indicated, if these pieces of legislation are being introduced, it appears that if Omunyoro says these are good pieces of legislation, then a good part of Kenya will say, cool. If he says it's horrible, we'll cool. And that is a tragedy for Kenya, that we are putting up political personalities to be more powerful than systems, to be more powerful than institutions, and that is a recipe for failure.
Thank you so much, Dismas Mukua, political risk analyst, Felicity Nkirote Biriri, governance expert, Wakili Joshua Nyamori, and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo, our panelists this morning on TV47. After the break, we'll be having Matter Sports, but before that, we have something to say. Our politicians are at it again, frantically ring-fencing regional blocks ahead of 2027. Mount Kenya East versus West, Rift Valley South versus North, quiet carve-outs elsewhere. True, this cynical math has delivered victories before, but it has also entrenched our greatest curse, ethnic and tribal politics. Yet we birthed a new constitution in 2010, precisely to bury division. Article 10 of that constitution demands national unity, patriotism and democracy. Article 27 forbids discrimination based on ethnic origin. We promised a Kenya where identity serves the nation, not the other way around. But now we have normalized this anomaly. We shrug as leaders treat communities like vote banks to be fenced, traded, or delivered wholesale. To what consequence? Deepened suspicion, stunted policy, and a country forever smaller than its potential? Every Kenyan voter deserves a right to choose independently. No one should be guilted or herded into voting for the tribe or region. Why must politics remain a census, not a contest of ideas? Politicians are busy dividing Kenya. Must we let them? Gen Z once promised a break from this madness. Now even they risk being pulled back into ethnic mobilization. If tribal ring fencing hasn't built a cohesive nation after decades, why expect miracles now? As Einstein warned, doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results is a very definition of insanity. It is time to organize our politics around ideology, competence, and shared destiny, not bloodlines. Kenyans, search your conscience. Demand better. Our children are watching. Let us finally choose nationhood over tribal arithmetic. Or is that too idealistic for our brains? The entire map of Kenya belongs to all of us, not just to those who would slice it for power. That is our editorial comment this morning.